Em, would you like a coffee?
Thanks, Gav, but you know I only drink tea.
Oh yeah, well, that could be arranged.
Oh?
Followers, if you're enjoying listening, watching or reading Gav Em's How to English pod, visit ko-fi.com/how to English pod.
That's coffee, ko-fi.com/how to English pod. And it would be lovely if you bought us a coffee or a tea to show us support, and you could even get a mention on our show if you'd like.
Welcome everybody, this is How to English with Gav Em.
It's a podcast about teaching and learning English as a foreign language.
All opinions stated are personal and source materials will be referenced where possible.
Hello.
Hi Em.
Hi, Gav.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
You're full of beans today. Are you ready for...
I haven't had any beans.
Okay, but you seem full of energy. I think it's because you know it's episode 22.
Yeah, that'll be it.
And that means we're going to talk about our favourite activities, lessons. Yes.
Things to do in lessons, yes.
Exactly. So we've actually prepared for this one.
We had to.
Yes.
Because we need to know what we're talking about. It's
well,
no good just saying, yeah, there was a really good thing in the book that I can't remember. And
which we often do.
Which we do. But now we're making it a whole episode. We should definitely be prepared.
All right, good. And have you decided to break it down into different sections or ways?
I thought it would be logical to do activities, lessons from books, and then maybe some things we've found online, and then things we've just created ourselves.
From
nothing, so
books,
to speak.
Like students.
Standard books.
Teaching EFL books.
Yeah.
And then the second was?
Online.
So
there's a lot of resources and websites you can go to as a teacher.
So stuff that you've borrowed.
Yeah,
or
but
you
haven't got a lot for that bit.
And we might only mention games because we've got so much to talk about.
Yeah, we might not get to everything.
We could always come back to it another time.
We can. And then there's a lot of stuff that, when you're just making a lesson plan, you just think, oh, that'll be a good idea. And you make it yourself. You write that lesson and you make those materials, and it's all from you.
A lesson plan?
Well, yeah, like a loose plan. At least the activities you've just created.
Is that where you sit down and you take an A4 piece of paper and you say, right, this is my warmer, this is my lead-in?
Kinda. I'd say it's usually a blank Word document for me. But if you want to go with paper, yeah. But it's just, when you just look for an activity in a book and you just can't find it and you think, well, it's not quite right, I'm just going to do it myself. Make it myself.
Okay.
So that's exactly what I want it to be.
The last section is created completely by you. So we have to apologise now if somebody else invented this before. We didn't intentionally steal it, but we will just double check to make sure.
I'm not saying nobody else has thought of it either, because I think some of the ideas are quite obvious.
Okay.
So let's jump in.
Yes, let's dive right in head first.
What's the first activity that you think of when you think great activity?
I love doing case studies. Why are you laughing? I think they're brilliant.
Okay.
My absolute go-to. I don't do it in the first few lessons of a course.
Whoa. What is a case study and where does it come from? Give us an example.
As I've probably mentioned, I've got a lot of business students and they do these kind of team building activities. And I think maybe case studies come from that sort of philosophy. And it involves a problem.
Okay.
And finding a solution to that problem. Some of my favourites are choose the best candidate.
Right, so what, you've got like loads of CVs that you have to look at?
Yeah, you look at the profiles of some candidates and then you have to look at the profile of the job and decide between you who is most suitable for the role.
The business skills are all there and you've got to use language for comparison and that kind of thing.
That's it. That's so nice. Really good group activity. I like doing that with the groups and then they can sort of break down the advantages, the pros and cons to each of the...
get an argument going.
Exactly.
Why should we have this person over this
That comes from Market Leader, by the way, just in case. Okay. And also there's one from Business Results and it's called Choose the Best Location.
Oh, was that a variation on the theme of candidate then?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Actually, with that one, it comes with a video, which is really good. It's elementary, but I do it with all levels. I don't think it matters what level in the book it is.
I've got quite a few elementary activities that I think work with all levels.
Yeah?
Yeah.
We'll have a look at those in a sec. What I really enjoy is having a problem. The students need to look and analyse the information, and then they come up with some sort of resolution between them. That's really interactive and fun.
That's great. Market leader, you said. I'm going to say in company is also very good. And again, elementary. In company, elementary. Just their activity called Call Me on My Mobile.
Oh,
which
that
is
sounds like
just
fun.
an amazing thing for practicing telephone language. It's not even telephone language. It's like role play, and we've mentioned before role play and how much students sometimes don't like them. But it's such a funny one because one person, it's like an A and a B page, and one student's got one scenario or one situation, and the other person is the other person on the phone, and they don't know what the person calling them is going to say.
Okay.
So they just have to react, and it's so real. You put your students back to back so they can't see each other, and there's very little clues, and somebody will just phone up and say, hello, can I speak to Mr. Smith? And the other person says, what do you want? And you're like, I want to speak to Mr. Smith. And the other one's saying, I'm in a presentation and I can't talk right now. And the other person who has no idea that that's going to happen, that they're in a presentation, has to react in such an amazingly natural way.
Wow.
Like, you just see the students suddenly become very scared and worried. Oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to disturb you. And, you know, that's just a really good activity.
That's really
simple,
good. So
simple.
they don't know what's coming, and they have to think on their feet.
That's it, and it's
like
really good, and it's good for business, but it's also got some really funny things like, you know, you've forgotten your son's birthday, phone your partner and say you're going to be home late, and the partner's like, well, what have you forgotten today? And because they don't know what, the other person doesn't know that they've forgotten the birthday.
So that's not just business, that's general as well.
Yeah, it kind of goes into both, so it's a good all-rounder, really.
You could write your own scenarios for that as well.
Yeah.
Go beyond the book.
Great concept. Very simple, but very effective.
I really like that. I've got one that's a lot more grammar based. It's from Cutting Edge, and it's called Auxiliary Snap Questions, I think. Questions and answers. And it's really straightforward. One person reads a card and it's got a question on it, and the other person has to match their auxiliary with it. And it's really straightforward, really, really simple, but actually you suddenly realise the student thinks, actually, do I know these auxiliaries as well as I should do?
So there's a little card with like, are you? That's the answer. Something like that.
Exactly.
And then the person has to ask the question and they put down the correct one in the middle.
That's it. And you can do that in groups. And so it's like a quiz. So whoever gets the auxiliary fastest. And then from that point, you can then say to them, right, now take the answers and I want you to make questions for these answers.
That's
and you can,
great.
Again, it grows into another game, another activity, which is really, really fun.
And you're right. I think that is deceptively easy.
It seems really easy.
I think I've had very high-level students be like, well, yeah, sure, but then they can't make a question where the answer is, yes, I am.
Yes.
They just get so confused with it. And it's great to see their brain start really engaging.
Yeah, it's nice. I like going back to auxiliaries, so that's a good activity.
Yeah, and one that really does need revising, I think, as well. I like that one too.
What's next then?
Well, you said grammar. I'm going to say pronunciation. There's some really good stuff in pronunciation games, which is probably the only book I ever use for pronunciation skills.
Oh, okay.
But that's just because I'm lazy, I suppose, and I really like it. So they've got a really good activity called Contradict Me, which is when you get a card with an error, some kind of obvious mistake, like carrots are my favourite fruit. And one student says it and the other person has to elicit the correct response, but with only pronunciation. So they have to say, you mean carrots are your favourite vegetable.
Oh, okay.
And they have to really stress the part that's incorrect.
Right.
And again, that's a really easy thing.
Do you pre-teach those expressions like "sorry, don't you mean?"
Yes, or I think you mean, or isn't it? You know, those little things that are really good for conversation, and polite ways of correcting people is a very good skill to have.
That's an everyday skill that students need.
Yeah, and it's fun.
Yeah.
And, you know, when there's some
really
funny
funny
ones in there.
As in carrots are not actually fruits.
Yeah, that's the point.
Yeah. Are there funnier ones than that? Because that's not the funniest one.
That's like the sun rises in the
west
evening. Oh, right, yeah.
That was it.
Something like that.
I think that's one of them. The sun always rises on the west.
Yeah.
And you say, sorry, don't you mean in the east?
Yeah.
Oh,
Kangaroos are from Austria.
Oh.
Don't you go
Austria? Don't you mean Australia?
Yeah, and that's the other thing. You have to then teach how to respond to that because, you know, in the early days of doing that activity, my students would just be like, So then you have to say...
No, I was wrong.
Yeah, then you have to say... So then if somebody says, don't you mean Australia? You have to then say, yes, of course. Oh, silly me. Or did I say Austria? I mean Australia.
Exactly. Or the auxiliary, yes, I do.
Yeah.
Maybe something like that.
Ooh,
Again, back to basics.
Getting harder, though. So, yeah, it's great. It's a really good game.
Okay, I like that. Well, from correcting mistakes...
Sorry, just one more thing about pronunciation. Sorry, because they've also got another one called Intonation Directions.
Oh, I love that.
Do you know it?
I do know it.
Go on.
With the little signposts.
Yes.
Okay, tell me more. I can't remember.
You've got a signpost with a sentence and the same sentence on each direction, and you have to say the sentence in a way that expresses the idea. There's an underlined word, and the word that's stressed expresses an idea.
So it's the same sentence on both sides of the sign, but one word is underlined on one side and a different word on the other side.
Exactly. So it's like, are you going to buy her a birthday present? And on one side, you is underlined, and on the other side, birthday is underlined, and you have to point to the idea.
Give me the intonation for the first one.
Are you going to buy her a birthday card?
Meaning
not me, but you. And then the other one, are you going to buy her a birthday card rather than maybe a Christmas card or something like that? So
then you match the meaning with the stress word. I like that. That's quite high level.
Yes, yeah, it's something I don't do with many students, but again, it's that just really good practice with things that we, do.
But you could do that with an intermediate, just to start them realising that the language is so much more complex than simply the sentence and its meaning, but actually the stress in it. Wasn't there once a game where Harry is your boyfriend and there was a different meaning for every word depending on the stress?
There's a few of those if you Google these sentences and you can analyse each one.
Okay, well, we'll have to put a link so people can find some examples. That's good. I like it. I've got something completely outside the box.
Yes.
And maybe I'm moving towards online. So actually, before I talk about that, I should talk about life and death decisions.
Okay, that sounds very serious.
Very exciting. You read, I think, 9 different scenarios. Like you're walking in the Andes and a lion comes up. What do? Do you run? Do you pretend to be dead? Do you punch it on the nose?
It's multiple choice. You've got 3 options.
Yeah, that's it. You have to choose one of the options. Actually, before I get the students to do that...
choose your own adventure. I used to love those.
Yes, before you even give the options, the teacher can elicit an answer and say, well, what would you do? Come on, imagine you're in this situation. How do you respond? And then you get the answer, and then you have a look at the options, and the student says, okay, I'm definitely going for option B, because this is the one I was thinking anyway.
Yeah, if they've mentioned it.
And then you get through the whole lot, and all of the scenarios, and then there's a recording that you can listen to, and that's also in company. I think it's one of the older ones.
Oh, that's the business book then.
Yeah.
It's in there.
But I use it for not only for business, but for general. Again, it's quite...
Well, it is general. What's the business aspect? Is it
I'll tell you if I get to the end of this conversation.
Sorry, come on.
Yeah. So you go through everything, you listen to the recording, and you say to the student, oh no, you died, or oh, well done, you survived this particular attack. And then you get right to the end, and then I think on the second page, it goes back through some of the key language, and it's language of possibility or something like that.
It's second conditional, definitely.
Yeah, but I think specifically it's language that you can actually use when you're describing risk and things like that. So, you've got a good chance, or you don't stand a chance, or there's a 50-50 chance of survival. And all of these are in the recording and in the descriptions of the scenarios.
So what's this good for negotiation or something. Is that...
Yeah, just talk about negotiation, risk, and taking chances, and it covers a lot of businessy stuff. So giving advice. Don't even think about trying to run away from this lion because you'll die.
Sounds
Exactly.
fun. Does everybody like to talk about these horrible situations?
They seem to love it.
Okay.
They think it's absolutely hilarious. And it's quite exciting.
And it might save their life, you never know.
Exactly. Because lots of people love watching these TV programmes of giving advice what to do in these really dangerous situations and exciting situations.
Everybody's got an opinion as well, haven't they?
Yes. They'll have definitely seen some video somewhere that describes how to escape from a car underwater.
Yeah.
Somebody always knows how to do it.
Okay, sounds like a fun lesson. What else?
Well, are you ready to go online?
Yeah, I think we can move on. I was just going to mention, it was actually similar to the life and death thing, but in New Cutting Edge, they've got a really good practice for modals. Actually, it's not that good for modals. It's really just a very good speaking exercise, which is called the Maze of Terror, which is a sort of variation on what you've said, where the students have to read.
Is that a choose your own adventure?
It's exactly that. Exactly that. And then they get these choices, and then you're at a crossroads. Do you go left or do you go right? Or, there's a zombie running towards you. What do you do?
Is that like turn to card number 5?
That's exactly what it is. It's like a whole 40-minute exercise.
What are they practising there?
Well, it's modals, but you're supposed to, on the card, you've got like these little extra questions, like what do you think happened, and then the students have to say, well, he could have used a knife to do that,
or I should have
turned it's all
left
about that sort of. But
do they actually use that language?
I think after a few times of doing it, I did manage to incorporate that language, but it wasn't that natural because the students are so excited about doing it and going to the next card. They don't really want to speculate too much as they're going along. But if you do it as a kind of activity
go back
to say, where did you make the mistakes,
then
it's good.
Past modals, should have,
that's
could
it
have.
But I mean, even present, it's better for present, because then if you've got a group, they're all saying, well, we should do that, or I think we need to do this, or we must go there. So it's kind of good for all modals and just good for fun.
That's a tricky one where you want them to use some sort of key language, but they're just not using it because they're so excited and they're really enjoying the lesson.
Yeah, and I don't push it too much if it's just a very good activity that's generating a really good conversation.
A lot of experience of pre-teaching or just, eliciting some kind of we should do this or we must do it or we have to do this next. And then you say, right, now let's do this thing. And they completely forget the language and it just doesn't come up again. And I don't know whether you're supposed to force them to.
No, because you can kind of kill it, I think. And then it's just this kind of robotic producing of language that's not very natural.
I agree. Yeah. Okay. But then maybe when you do a little micro teaching as the students are kind of working together without interrupting too much, you could then introduce some of that language.
Yeah, it depends on the point that they're actually learning. But I think if they're communicating without error, you obviously want to upgrade it, but then it's not maybe natural to do it if they're not naturally using it. I think it's never worked for me whenever I've said, and this is the language we're going to be practising, and I've put it on the board and everything, and nobody's using it in the actual activity.
Yeah,
and I'm like, well, it's there, look at it, it's there, use it. But they just can't. It's like a bit of a block with
generally speaking.
Real communication.
Yeah.
So you can only try, can't you?
Definitely.
Present it and say if you want to, it's there.
Yes. Maybe the next lesson you might revise little pieces of some of the language that you looked at. Just go back over it
in
again.
a more controlled way. Yeah, exactly.
It.
So online, what have you got? I've only got one thing. What have you got?
Well, I've got an activity. It took me a while to find it, actually. It's called Escape from the Moonlight Cottage.
Escape from the Moonlight Cottage.
It sounds really exciting, doesn't it? Because I know everybody's really into these, what do they call those locked room games?
Escape games.
Escape games, that's it. And the principle is that you're trapped in a room with possibly some people, I don't know, maybe on your own, I don't know, and you've got to find a way, you've got to solve some puzzles to get out into the real world again. There's an online version. You can find all these sorts of games online.
Is it for teaching?
No.
Oh, sorry. I was sort of making lists of teaching resources, but yeah.
Oh, I use anything.
We're out
It
of the
doesn't
box
have to
completely.
be. Yeah, it doesn't have to be just teaching resources. It's a game online, and you're trapped in this cottage. And I've done it with my students. We did it on Teams, I think Microsoft Teams, and I just said to them, right, tell me what to do. And they said, turn right, turn left.
Oh, that's really good. It's really good for online as well.
So yeah,
Therapeutic.
giving directions, saying, okay, there's a number in the top left corner, click on it, or all that
language.
kind of. Yeah,
That's really good. Good for people that are in IT as well.
Yes,
like when they've got to navigate people around a screen.
Exactly, giving instructions, that kind of thing. And then you solve some puzzles, and then if you're successful, then you can leave, and it's wonderful.
Okay.
Yeah, the students really enjoyed it, I think.
That sounds really good. Sounds fun, but you'd need some sort of screen if you were going to do that in a lesson face to face.
Yeah, that's why I was thinking online, because I would only really do that online.
Share your screen and do it that way.
Yes,
yeah.
exactly.
I've just got some like really academic thing, which is from LinguaHouse, the email section. Not sure if they've got names or numbers. I didn't write down the number. Whoops. I think they've got a subject line email activity where you've got an email and the actual task is to write the subject line, which is a really good thing. I think it's a really nice task to do because it checks that the students have understood the email, which is a great skill.
Okay.
And just how subject lines are very important and they have to be very short, direct, to the point.
Okay.
And, you know, those sort of things that you don't even think about it. You take out auxiliaries and articles and prepositions and it's literally just, you know, meeting cancelled.
Yes. Okay.
Not the meeting is cancelled on the 21st.
Or has been cancelled, for example.
Yes. So that's kind of good as a activity, and I get students to read it to each other, going back to that whole thing where everybody's not looking at the same thing. You know, I like that.
I like that.
So one person reads, if you've got a group, one person reads the email and everybody decides what the subject lines should be. And they write it on the board.
I like that very much.
Yeah, and then there's a whole thing about the language and comparing formal and informal and words and vocabulary and tricks to make your emailing better. It's from LinguaHouse. So it's a good emailing, solid emailing.
Great website to visit to find any resources.
Oh, it's got loads of stuff, really good stuff. But sometimes I struggle to adapt it a bit. But this one's really easy, like you can cut it up.
Right.
And it's nice sort of visually. You got a little screen. They're written in a sort of way that looks like it's on an email screen. You can print the actual emails that I was describing.
So you're not using it online, just getting the resources and then printing them.
Well, LinguaHouse is for teachers to use as resource. It's like a database of worksheets, isn't it?
I like that. Written by teachers for teachers.
Yeah, I don't know if you can write on, maybe on a PDF or something. But I've done it online and I've done it in person, and it's really nice in person because you can cut the emails out. Right,
yeah. That's the same with all the activities I've mentioned, actually. I do cut them up, I pass them round, and it's just a bit more exciting, rather than just sticking to the book.
And it's not so overwhelming when you've got a page of 10 emails. You can just look at one and focus on it. Yeah,
that's really good. Anything else?
Not for online. Everything else is just sort of my own invention.
Well, let's just glide away from the internet and settle on... I make little cards. I love making little cards. And I do sometimes laminate them. I know that's maybe not the best thing for the environment, but I do it, and I will keep them forever.
Well,
and I'll give them to the next person who wants to take them after me.
It's arguable, isn't it? If you used more paper, is that better than plastic?
Yeah, I'd like to just use electronic tablets and things. I think that would be... Anyway, that's a different episode.
We should do that.
I've got little cards, and they've got pictures of things like... I think there's one of somebody finishing a race... And there's another one of somebody who's baked a cake.
Well, you've drawn them?
These are actually photos that I've borrowed from the internet.
Aha.
Yeah. I obviously put copyright owned by, etc. in the bottom corner. But they're used for teaching only. And I teach the students, firstly, how to use present perfect simple or present perfect continuous in a very general way. So I might hold up one of the cards and I just say to the students, and they look at a picture of somebody finishing a race. I say, what have they done? And they say, hopefully, they have finished a race. And I might write it on the board. And I say, what have they been doing? And they go, they have been running. Okay. So we've got this longer... present perfect continuous sentence.
So that demonstrates what I said at the beginning. I think there are exercises in some English books, teaching books, with that kind of thing, but I've only ever seen very dodgy drawings.
Yeah.
So I think using these real pictures
Yes.
is just so much better.
And I've got loads of them, and I love using them. And there's a picture of a kid on the floor falling off his bike, and the student says,
Nice.
"What has he done?" "Oh, he has fallen off his bike." "What has he been doing?" "He's been cycling." And you just see the student's minds like moulding into this. I know the difference between present perfect simple to describe a completed action that's connecting to the present
see.
and this longer action in the past.
Great, that's really, really nice.
Yeah, so
I
they're
like
really
that.
good. I think they're really fun. And you can just go through the little cards, just go through them, pass them around, divide them, put students into groups with these little cards. It's wonderful. I like my little
good.
cards.
Really, really good. I've got a good connected speech activity that I came up with, just dictating sentences that are connected.
Oh.
And telling the students you have to write each word separately. So you say, like, what do you want to do? And the student has to write down each word individually.
Hold on a minute.
What?
Where did that activity come from?
Well, it might have been a collaboration between Gav and Em.
Is the original title Whatcha Wanna Do? Because I think that I invented that game.
Well, I think we're a bit fuzzy on who invented which games. I don't know. It was a collaboration.
Moving on.
But it's great because
Yes.
the student hears it.
So the teacher reads the sentence, "What do you want to do?"
Yes.
And the student has to say how many words there are in that sentence. And then they write down those words. And then the teacher says, "Well, I didn't say, what do you want to do? Did I?" Which was 6 words. I said, "What you wanna do?" And then the student says, "Yes." And then the student repeats, "What you wanna do?" Oh, it's 3 sounds. What you wanna do? That's it. And then they go through, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go? Who do you want to meet?
Yep.
Can I come with you?
Yep.
And it's absolutely amazing. I love
You
that.
kind of hijacked that one.
I did because it's my...
All right, it's yours and you can take it.
It's my activity.
Very good. I think a lot of these might be actually... No, I tell you what, I've got a really good activity for compound nouns. And I thought of it.
I am all ears.
It's a variation on, I think it's like a party game maybe. You put things in a bag and you get the students to put their hand in the bag and you don't tell them what's in there. So they have to touch whatever it is. And they can either describe it to somebody else and the other person says what it is. Or if, you've only got a couple of students or a one-to-one, you can just say, what do you think it is? But the point is that all the things in the bag are...
Everyday objects.
Yeah, but
They're...
compound nouns. So you've got paperclip, elastic band, bottle opener, all these things. So it's really good language because it is everyday stuff. But it depends on the level. But a lot of them were kind of like pencil sharpener and things that are quite hard, I think.
Well, yeah, but like I said, they are actually everyday objects, but the students might not necessarily know what they are. Clothes hangers.
No, that's quite hard to get in a bag, but I think, I
be a
did
big
like
bag?
plastic bag and, all those sort of things. So you can use that model for a lot of different games if you want to do it like that. But it's just a fun thing to get adults to do as well. I mean, obviously kids love that kind of thing, but to get an adult to just put their hand in a mystery bag and say... I'm not sure what it is. It's for putting paper together or something.
Well, that's good, yeah. So you're developing those skills of how to describe things.
Yeah, because a lot of the time they don't know what it is.
It's hard, it's soft,
English.
it's round, it's made of metal, it's made of something.
Exactly.
Very good.
Safety pin. Nobody knew what safety pin was
well,
in English.
Be careful.
Yeah,
that
it was closed, obviously. You don't put the open safety pin. Yes.
You would identify it very quickly, though, wouldn't you?
Warning. Do not put sharp objects in the bag.
That's true. As you've mentioned, one of your own activities, and as we're nearly out of time...
Oh, have we? I've got loads more.
I just want to say how to. How to is one of my favourite...
How to?
One of my favourite activities.
It's the name of our podcast.
I've got... Yes. And... You're going to keep interrupting me.
No.
So it's like how to... And I sort of pre-teach a little bit language if you're describing how to do something. So how to make a cup of tea. Okay, first of all, you put water in the kettle and then you boil the kettle. And after that, you do this. And then finally, you pour the water in.
Oh, that's great.
So you've got that structure of how to put these things in
language,
order.
Very useful.
And the reason I like it so much is I choose really regular things like making a cup of tea, like boiling an egg. You know how many different movements go into making stages, even like how to open a door, like the details. A lot of students don't remember to pull.
Yeah.
It's just not there.
Or put your hand on the handle.
Exactly. Gently open, turn, and open the refrigerator to get your egg out to boil. And,
a lot
don't
of phrasal
forget...
verbs as well.
Exactly.
It's really good for
Switch
that.
on, turn off.
That's great. Sorry, I thought you'd finished and was moving on to a different one, but you weren't.
Let's finish. I'm going to let you finish it then. Go on.
Oh, well, I've got lots of things. Countable and uncountable nouns, really good activity. If you've just got a list of words that are countable and uncountable, cut them all up, or online just randomly select 3, and the students have to put them into a sentence. Like the newspapers are very good at information about cameras. I don't know, just like you've got the word newspaper, camera, information. That works.
That does work. I like it.
I'll stop.
Oh, one more then.
Well, mushrooms.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of students who like collecting mushrooms. So I made a lesson. I took all the different mushrooms from the internet.
Oh.
And they had to identify which ones were poisonous.
I love the idea of you taking mushrooms from the internet, firstly. But
Pictures of mushrooms.
Which ones were poisonous?
Yes.
Oh.
So it was
edible,
great.
Inedible, poisonous.
So it was great for the people that knew and then the ones that didn't. And great language, great vocabulary.
Educational, saves lives. A bit like if you see a lion, actually don't run because it will kill you.
Or don't eat that mushroom that's covered in red spots.
I think you're supposed to flap your arms if
I
you
can't remember.
If you see a mushroom with red spots.
Is it? Oh, okay. Good to know. Leave with that tip.
All right. Thanks, Em.
Thanks, Gav.
And thanks to all our listeners. Thanks to everybody for all your lovely support and everything.
Yeah.
That's it from me.
And me.
See ya.
Bye.